China's aggressive behavior in the South China Sea, including the use of water cannon by its Coast Guard against a Philippine vessel, must be challenged and checked, the commander of the U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet has said. Vice Admiral Carl Thomas assured the Philippines of U.S. backing in the face of shared challenges in the region, saying, "My forces are out here for a reason." The largest of the U.S. Navy's forward-deployed fleets, the 7th Fleet, headquartered in Japan, operates as many as 70 ships, has around 150 aircraft and more than 27,000 sailors. It operates over an area of 124 million square kilometers from bases in Japan, South Korea, and Singapore. "You have to challenge people, I would say, operating in a gray zone," Mr. Thomas said. When they're taking a little bit more and pushing you, you've got to push back, you have to sail and operate. Thomas said he had discussions with Vice Admiral Alberto Carlos, the head of the Philippine Western Command overseeing the South China Sea, to understand what his challenges are to find opportunities to be able to help him. We certainly shared challenges. So I wanted to better understand how he views the operations that he's responsible for. And I wanted to make sure that he understood what I had available, said Mr. Thomas, who was in Manila for a port call. On Saturday, Mr. Thomas said he joined a flight from Manila to go out and check out the South China Sea. The Philippines won an international arbitration award against China in 2016 after a tribunal said Beijing's sweeping claim to sovereignty over most of the South China Sea had no legal basis. China has built militarized, man-made islands in the South China Sea, and its claim of historic sovereignty overlaps with the exclusive economic zones of the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and Indonesia. The Chinese embassy in Manila did not immediately respond to a request for comment. U.S. Navy official asks Washington's allies to challenge China. A senior U.S. Navy official advised Washington's allies to challenge what he called aggressive behavior by China following a reported incident involving China's Coast Guard and a Philippines vessel in the South China Sea. Vice Admiral Carl Thomas, commander of the U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet, made the remarks to Reuters during a port call in Manila on Sunday. Earlier this month, the Chinese Coast Guard reportedly blocked Philippine vessels carrying supplies to Filipino military personnel stationed on a grounded World War II warship, which Manila has intentionally grounded on a shoal in the South China Sea. China claims sovereignty over almost the entire South China Sea, which overlaps with the waters of Malaysia, Vietnam, Brunei, Taiwan, and the Philippines. Beijing has repeatedly called for the Philippines to remove the warship which Manila uses as a makeshift military base and restore it to its unoccupied state. Using the alleged incident as an example, the American official said, "You have to challenge people, I would say, operating in a gray zone. When they're taking a little bit more and pushing you, you've got to push back, you have to sail and operate. There's really no better example of aggressive behavior than the activity on 5 August on the shoal." Thomas assured the Philippines of U.S. backing in the face of shared challenges in the region, saying, "My forces are out here for a reason." China has consistently opposed military activity by other countries in the strategic waterway, through which $5 trillion in goods are shipped yearly. However, defying the Chinese warnings, Washington continually sent military vessels to the waters, prompting protests from Beijing. A U.S. Navy aircraft carrier group is reportedly operating in the South China Sea in an obvious demonstration of U.S. strength that aims to raise tensions in the region against China, while a Chinese naval training ship is on a goodwill tour of building the peace and friendship in Southeast Asia. Based on the flight tracks of two C-2, a Greyhound carrier-based transport aircraft, the aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan made a transit through the Bashi Channel and sailed into the South China Sea on Wednesday, according to open-source monitoring by the South China Sea Strategic Situation Probing Initiative, a Beijing-based think tank. The flight tracks show that the U.S. aircraft flew between the aircraft carrier and the Philippines, a country the U.S. has recently been roping in to militarily confront China. The U.S. gained access to 4 additional military bases in the Philippines in addition to holding joint naval and Coast Guard exercises with the country this year. The U.S. aircraft carrier is anticipated to hold exercises and show off its strength in the South China Sea, Wei Dongxiu, a Beijing-based military expert, told the Global Times on Monday.